Welcome to Sage Audio. Today we're talking about how to set up your mastering chain. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com to receive a free mastered sample of it. Import your stereo mix. The first step to any stereo mastering session is to import your stereo mix into a DAW. This is how you'll adjust, process, monitor, and export your master. Despite the mix's sampling rate and the bit depth, create a session with a minimum of 24-bit and 96 kilohertz. It's typical to use the same sampling rate as your mix when mastering. However, by using a higher sampling rate, you reduce the effect of aliasing created from your processing. Create enough headroom. Before you begin to process your signal, you'll need to ensure that you have enough headroom for your processing. If mastering multiple tracks at once, you'll want to roughly match their headroom. Now, the best way to affect the headroom of your master is to alter the clip with clip gain. I like to have about 5 dB of headroom, but how much you start with is up to you. Understand your routing. When you start to consider what processing you'll use, it's imperative that you understand how your signal is being routed and where to place each processor. Your signal starts with the file or waveform, then your inserts, then to any auxiliary sends or buses, and finally to your stereo output. Place each form of processing in the order that you want to affect your signal, and keep in mind that the signal will travel from one processor to the next, and in that order. EQ your master. I typically like to have my first insert be an equalizer, with which I'll attenuate any aspects of the signal that I don't want to amplify later on in my chain. This attenuation can be stereo, left and right, or mid and side, depending on where the offending signal is. I'll typically use additive equalization later in my chain, but some engineers combine both forms as their first insert. Let's take a listen to this on a song.
I've got too much to do. I don't have time for you. You're either in or out. I'm not slowing down.
Saturate your master. Saturation is a combination of distortion and compression and can be used to control your master's dynamics while simultaneously adding harmonics. Saturation is often thought of as the tone of a sound and comes in multiple forms like tape, tube, transistor, and more, which provide extra clarity or fullness. When mastering, saturation should be used subtly to avoid unpleasant distortion. Additionally, if you use saturation, use one with oversampling and enable 2x or more. Let's take a listen to Saturation on a song.
I've got too much to do. I don't have time for you. You're either in or out. I'm not slowing down. Since I've been flying high, no one looks in my eye.
Compress only if needed. Whether or not to use compression in a mastering session is often debated, but it seems to be a form of processing that should typically be used only if needed. Compression will let you control the dynamics of your master and change its timbre by adjusting the attack and release. Optical compression is great for creating a smooth master if used subtly, while digital compressors are used for more aggressive genres. Let's take a listen to compression on a song.
I've got too much to do. I don't have time for you. You're either in or out. I'm not slowing down. Since I've been flying high, no one looks in my eye.
Limit your master. The last form of processing that you should use on your mastering chain is a limiter, with which you'll increase the loudness and protect the signal from peaking or clipping distortion. The limiter you choose and the settings will greatly affect the timbre of your master and all previous processing. Like saturation, limiting, especially aggressive limiting, can cause aliasing, so be sure to use oversampling if the limiter offers it. Let's take a listen to limiting being used on a song.
I've got too much to do. I don't have time for you. You're
Monitor your levels. After limiting, you'll want to use a metering plugin to measure both the LUFS and dB true peak. The LUFS can be considered your master's loudness and the dB true peak its level. If you notice that your dB true peak is above 0 dB, you'll need to revisit your limiter and reduce the output ceiling. If you plan to release your music on a streaming service, a good range for the LUFS is -14 to -8, and your dB true peak should be between -0.5 dB true peak and -2. Export your master. When exporting a master, I like to make multiple versions. The first is a high-resolution version with the same settings as the session. The second is a version for the streaming services I'll distribute the song to and will be set to the highest settings that they'll accept. The last is a 320 kilobytes per second MP3, which is really helpful for sharing and radio promotion. If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com to receive a free mastered sample of it. Also, subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for watching.